wife all the time says, I'm freezing.
Does she
No,
really?
all
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait.
Hey, everybody. It's 5 o'clock, so we're going to get started with our work session for tonight. We're going to start with an update from Easley Combined Utilities. So, Mr. Andy Sevick, if you'll come up, I think the microphone is on, and give us an update.
First of all, I appreciate you guys letting me give a brief talk here. Tom told me to keep it under 2 hours.
That would be wise.
So first, the reason why I'm here, one is sometimes it's just good to hear from the utility, just to say where we are, state of the utility, and that kind of thing. And second of all, I've heard a lot of chatter about infrastructure, and I know that includes a wide variety of things, but it also includes electric, water, and sewer. So I want to give you a heads up of where we are as a utility and how we're positioned, especially as we come out of the moratorium. Just real briefly, we're going to talk about the structure. I like to keep that in every presentation that we do: the electric system, the water system, the sewer system, and then the challenges that we face and maybe some action that you guys will have to take in the future. Just real briefly, I always say that we're a brother or sister of the city. We're owned by the city citizens. We're a municipality. We have 3 elected commissioners. One is here with me tonight, Eric Goodwin. And we are not subject to regulation by the Public Service Commission. Our commissioners can make the rates, they approve the rates, they approve the budget, and that kind of thing. Those are fine gentlemen that represent the commission currently. Just real briefly, the electric system, we currently have about 17,000 customers. Compare that to 10 years ago, we were right around the 15,000 mark, so we are growing. Some people ask me all the time about the miles of underground service and overhead service. Currently, we have 175 miles of underground service and 235 miles of overhead service. Back in 10 years ago, that was 145 miles of underground service and 246 overhead service. So we are shifting very slowly. It's very expensive to shift that, but as we work our ways through this, we're getting more underground service, almost to 50-50. One thing that's cut off here, many people may not be aware that where we get our power. ECU, we have a base load power where we get all our power through an agency called PMPA. We are part of the PMPA Joint Action Agency. So us and 9 other cities own part of the Catawba nuclear plant in Fort Mill, Rock Hill area. So we are a part owner of the Catawba plant. And we hire Duke, or we contract Duke to run that plant. And they are great at running nuclear plants. It's one of the best run plants in the country. There are 9 other cities that join us with that, and we'll go with that. So, and one of the first things on here is, so we have the ownership in that plant. We get our base load from them. What that means is a day like today, probably have enough energy from Catawba to service, but in July, middle of July, at 5 o'clock in the evening, we are going to need some extra power. We call that supplemental power. And right now it's through Santee Cooper. So we have base load and supplemental. Our base load contract with PMPA through Catawba expires in 2035. We actually just extended that to mirror the life of that plant for another, it says additional 50 years, but the life of the plant is through 2043. Right now, with the extension most likely happening to 2063. So our base load energy is set through 2063 or the life of the plant. We are currently working on the supplemental contract. Our supplemental contract runs out in 2028, December 31st, and so We need something starting January 1, 2029, and we're currently in negotiations with entities on that. Looking forward, the way our cost structure is, I think we're gonna see in the next, between now and 2035, you may see a few rate increases in electric. Probably I'm an accounting guy, I don't think it's gonna be over 3% in any one year, and it's gonna be spread out among that time. Our last rate increase for the electric side was April 1st, 2015. And I think we're well positioned in the market right now to have not only reliable power, but inexpensive power. And lastly, for the electric system, just want to bring up, we have 8 projects with FEMA. We've been reimbursed 3 of those 8 projects, kind of the smaller ones. We're still awaiting some of them. We spent roughly a little less than $2 million in storm repair, and we're hoping to get the majority of that back from the government soon. All of our homework is done. We're just waiting for it to be graded.
Andy,
Yes, sir.
do you think that whatever words you might use to describe what's going on with FEMA will affect your recoupment?
Not the current recruitment, but if we have anything in the future, there's no telling what's going to happen. So I feel very confident. It's actually, my understanding is the bigger 2 projects are in the state of South Carolina. They're doing, I think there's 7 or 8 hoops. We're in the 6th or 7th hoop with the state, so I feel very confident we're going to get those funds within the next few months. So our team, honestly, I get a shout out to Trip Martin and those guys, Jonathan Langston. They did a great job of not only during the storm, but after the storm, making sure we were very organized and had all our ducks in a row and information in. So. Water system, we've got about 15,000 customers. All these maps you see, the red lipstick looking thing is the city limits, and then the lighter color is actually our service area, so we do reach outside the city a little bit. Main thing to know about this is if you look at the graph that's kind of in the corner there, we were trucking along at we have an 18 million gallon a day storage water production plant at Saluda Lake that we own. Maximum is 18 million gallons. Back in the 2020 and before, we were at about 13, 14, so we were thinking that we'd have to expand that in the next few years or the next 10 years. Powdersville actually decided to get most of their water from Greenville instead of sharing Greenville and us, which hurt us revenue-wise, but was a blessing in disguise as far as the capacity-wise. We don't have any problems with water capacity in that plant. The maximum we have now is probably 9, 9.5, 10, usually in the summertime. So we're good there. One thing I will show, when we talk about challenges, you'll see something about a master plan that we had about 3 years ago. We have aging water lines and we have aging sewer lines that need replacing before anything happens catastrophic. And so we are making plans. We've been making plans for that. We're trying to be proactive instead of reactive on that side. The watershed management plan, about 12, 13 years ago, we dredged Saluda Lake to the tune of about $7.5, $8 million. That's a very big project. We thought it would have a lifespan of 40 to 50 years based on all our engineering reports. The lifespan of that was approximately 5 to 6 years. So we had to regroup and say that was not going forward. It's probably not wise to dredge that lake unless we do something a little more upstream. And that's what we've been doing for the past 6, 7 years. We've been very aggressive in water conservation, stream bank restoration, and the conservation of land along the watershed above that. Sewer system. Now the next few slides are probably the most important that you guys are interested in right now. We have about 12,785 customers. This time 10 years ago, it was right around 9,000, so it's growing a little faster, obviously. We have 3 wastewater plants, and then we own capacity in REWA's plant, in one of their plants. So the MGD is 1 million gallons per day, so our largest one is Middle Branch. It used to be 3.5. We've been doing a lot of constructions and boosted that up to 4.2. Georges Creek is 0.82 or 820,000 gallons per day. And then Golden Creek is 580,000. The next one is a very important. Next slide shows you where those plants are located in the city. This is a pretty important map to see because in each little area, the yellow obviously feeds into Golden Creek. The brownish up there that goes to Georges Creek, and the greenish goes to Middle Branch, and then the pink goes to Rewa. We call those areas basins. So if there's a basin, if you're anywhere in that area and you have a basin, you say, all right, I'm going to build a house in downtown, you're most likely going straight to Middle Branch. That's very important because we just passed, in February, we passed a sewer service policy, which basically says if you're in one of these areas, that dictates whether you can have service guaranteed or what. What it basically says, if you're in the Middle Branch Basin, which is the big section, and you want to develop, if you're not annexed into the city, you're not getting sewer. So we are saving all of our excess capacity at Middle Branch for anything that you guys decide to develop or decide to annex in. Golden Creek and Georges Creek, we felt a little more comfortable. So what happens is if someone wants to develop in that area and it's contiguous to the city, we say first go to the city and ask for annexation. If it's granted, we serve it. If it's denied, then they come to our commission and they ask for permission. And it's up to them to decide if they want to serve it or not. Rewa is a little bit different. Same thing though, that if it's close to the city, we ask for them to come and annex in. If it's denied, then we tell Rewa we have to decide if the commission has to decide if they want to serve it or not. Rewa is a little bit different in that they have some capacity and they're planning on expanding that plant in the next 5 to 10 years. We kind of go as a development by development case on that. So if someone wants to develop and they're in the Rewa Basin, then we say, all right, Rewa, you have enough, let's go ahead and purchase it. And it's kind of a flow through to Rewa. Does that make sense? This is a very important chart to understand because Mario understands this chart, and those guys, whenever someone comes up to them and Tom and says, hey, we want to develop in this area, one of the things they ask about is sewer. Well, they come to this basin and say, well, where are you on this basin? If you're in the Middle Branch Basin, you're not going to be served unless you're annexed into the city. So we've already had a few that have come to us and say, hey, can you provide a sewer? And we're like, they're not even close to being contiguous to the city. We said, no, unfortunately, we're saving that for the city. All right, next, this is a very important slide as well. A couple of definitions that are pretty important. Allocated flow. That basically is, we have a checkbook that says, hey, if you have a house, we're going to allocate 300 gallons per day for that house. Now, that's pretty conservative. That's DES kind of standards. That doesn't mean that you're using every house is using 300 gallons per day. In fact, what that is called the average daily load. And what most likely happens is we say you have 300 gallons per day, but you probably only use 100, 120 per day. So that 300 gallons per day is what DES used for, hey, let's see how close you are to being fully allocated and your plant needs an expansion. Now, one thing they've done differently, they've kind of moved away that you may have heard of the 80-90% rule. If you get 80% of your allocated flow of that plant, then that means and historically, that means you need to start planning for expansion of that plant. And then when you hit 90% of that, it basically says, all right, you better have started construction or you better start to work on it. They've relaxed those standards a little bit. They also have something now called a flow advance agreement, which allows the utility to operate beyond its permitted levels. Many utilities in the upstate or a couple in the upstate, but many around state, have this flow advance agreement where they have actually exceeded 100% of their allocated capacity. As long as they don't have any violations and as long as they run those plants well, then they're allowed to go over. Now, if you start having violations, then they're going to call you out and say, all right, you need to have some construction plans. I will tell you, our plants are well-run. Our supervisors are unbelievable. With running, we haven't had any violations since I've been here for sure, but many, many years. And then none of the violations in the past were due to capacity related. We do have a flow advance agreement on Middle Branch just in case. I don't think we will need it, but we have one. We've actually applied for one at Georges Creek as well. So the current allocated flow at Middle Branch is about 75%. Now for internal purposes, for our planning purposes, ECU still kind of looks at the 80-90% rule because we don't want to be, we're just conservative that way, and we're like, all right, if we get close to 80%, we better have some plans for expansion. So we've always had discussions with that. So just to give you a quick little number system here, and a couple of you have actually asked about this before. But at Myrtle Beach, Middle Branch, the number of houses you would have to hit the 80% is around 900, or no, excuse me, 600. And to hit the 90%, you're at 2,000 houses. You also have to remember, that's got to be inside the city if it's at Middle Branch. So that's what you're kind of looking, that's what we're looking at. If the city says, hey, we're going to annex this property or this property and this property, and we're going to bring 675 houses into it, or 675 units, then we're like, okay, we need to start planning and figuring out stuff.
Would that be more new houses, additional units?
Additional units, correct, yeah. So that's, so to tell you that I would not characterize that we have a capacity constraint with the Middle Branch plant, but I will say we do have challenges, and we're addressing those challenges by, one, having the sewer use policy, two, having this flow advance agreement, and three, tracking to make sure that we are stay ahead of the curve on that. Finally, just in summary, the challenges, supplemental power we talked about, we're working on that right now. We do have aging distribution lines in the water and the watershed conservation and stream bank restoration, plant capacity we just talked about. We do have aging lines and pump stations that we've identified in the master plan that we've got to take care of inside the city now. I'm not going to go through this, but 2 years ago we had a work session, I believe, with you guys, and we identified all these challenges. These are identified again within the green as where we stand currently. We're working on a lot of these right now. I do want to point out that next to last, the aging sewer lines, Middle Branch, Brushy Creek, and 18 Mile Creek. That's the one we've kind of talked to you guys about that we may need, or we will need to borrow some money. So when we do that, we come to you to ask for help. The next slide just shows you the map of where those projects are. We are very proactive. We've been very proactive, and we've notified everybody that could be on that line that we may be looking at. We've started engineering, of course. We're doing site preparation. We will have public meetings with anybody that might be affected or anybody that might be interested in those. But those are lines that are major sewer lines throughout the city, on the southern part of the city, that quite frankly are 40 to 50 years old, and we need to replace them. It has nothing to do with capacity or anything like that. They've been good lines, but they need some work. Any questions? That's all I have for you today.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Andy? No, thank you.
Well, not too easy. On the lead and copper challenges.
Yes, sir.
Have those been eased up?
The lead and copper, so we've identified, we had to do an inventory of all the lines, service lines throughout the whole utility service area, and identify anything that may have lead and copper. We've identified those. We're in pretty good shape, but you have a 10-year construction timeline to have those replaced. They've relaxed that 10-year. In fact, the 10-year timeline hasn't even started yet. But we've already identified, there's one area that we are working on currently, should be done in about a month. Oakvale area over here, that they're working on right now to replace some of those. But
Wasn't there another relaxation of requirements about the forever chemicals?
the PFAS, PFOA, there was, we were concerned because if we were to test above the limits were extremely low, then it would require some major capital. At the time we talked 2 years ago, I brought it up, and we hadn't gotten the full test results of our system. I will say, all our system, we are well below even that limit. But yes, federally speaking, they have relaxed some of those, or they seem to be relaxing. They haven't officially done it yet. So,
Thank you.
thank you guys.
Okay, next up on the agenda, we'll have the second reading of ordinance 2025-10, authorizing the conveyance of a right-of-way maintenance agreement with Doodle Trail Properties 2 LLC. This is the second reading. Any discussion? Okay. Next, we'll have the second reading of ordinance 2025-11 to repeal the City of Easley zoning ordinance and land development regulations and replace them with the City of Easley Unified Development Ordinance. Any discussion? Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. By the way, this is awesome.
Thank you. I kind of nerded out on that, but that actually matches the zoning map of our city, so
Oh, I didn't see
yeah,
that, but
that
that's
was-
just awesome because flipping through the pages.
you get
is-
lost. And then
Yeah,
you gotta
get
go
lost.
back and then you do the finger thing, yeah.
Okay, what's the reason for the second permitted use table in here? There's one right past
That
it.
was in there
Is
when
that the old one?
they're the exact same. I think it's more or less an aesthetic thing. It was in there when I first received the document, so I didn't want to take it out, but they're the exact same.
Okay. And can you get rid of the blank pages, like move page 200 to 199?
200 and 199?
Yeah.
We could take care of that.
Okay. But otherwise, nice document.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions for Corey or discussion? Yes.
So I am not clear on what we are voting on tonight, because the document that was placed in our packet is what was passed by the Planning Commission last Monday. This document that we received is not what passed at first reading. When I asked whether we were considering what was passed at first reading or what the Planning Commission passed, I was told the council should understand and council should be aware that they're only an advisory body, that we're the legislative, and that what we would be voting on would be placed in our boxes. What we passed last month was never placed in our box. What was placed was what the Planning Commission passed.
That's the amendment we're voting on tonight, the second reading. That's the one that you sent the UDO and you've got in the packet. Correct? Am I
I mean,
saying that correctly?
forgive me for not keeping up with, I don't understand the issue, so.
So this right here
Mhm.
is not what passed at first reading.
Correct. So the document that was originally proposed at the first reading went to the planning commission based on the recommendations that were issued at this meeting. And they were discussed at the planning commission during what I talked to the city attorney and also Mast about, which is there's an ongoing legislative process, therefore this would not need to go back to a first reading. We took the changes that you recommended and the changes that were presented to the planning commission, formulated this document with all of the changes listed on there so that we could have this document here today. So everything that you have on there is the original document with the amended changes that were recommended by this council and the planning commission. And there's also a table of every single change, page by page, with the sections on there as far as what was changed, so there would be no confusion. So,
So
forgive me
it-
if I understand, but
Sure. Is it council's intent to amend the amend what was passed, because what was in our box, what I was told was in our box would be what we were voting on tonight, and that is not what passed at first reading. That never hit my box. This is a different document than
Well,
what passed at first reading.
What passed that first reading, you wanted to make, you recommended to make changes to it. So therefore, it can't be the same document because you wanted to make changes to it. So therefore, I've made the changes, and now you're saying it's not the same document. Of course, it wouldn't be the same document.
I understand that.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I understand that. What was represented to me was what is in our
Changes are-
box.
Yes.
Is, what was represented to me was, hey, they're an advisory body. What we're gonna be voting on is what's in your packet.
Did you receive the updated UDO?
I received the updated UDO, which is not
That's-
properly in front of this body for a vote. Now, if the body would like to amend what passed at first reading to match what was passed, what's in this black, but I don't believe that it is appropriate or possible for a non-legislative body to make changes to something that this council passed, in between. So could the attorney advise on that?
So Corey is correct. He did consult with me, and it is proper to amend an ordinance between first and second reading,
Sure.
okay? So we're clear on that, okay? So that part you understand.
I understand that this body can make an amendment to what passed.
Planning Commission only makes recommendations to this council. It's my understanding that the recommendations that were made by Planning Commission were those, as Corey already stated, that were requested by this body to make. It did not have to go back to the Planning Commission, but they did that, as my understanding is sort of we want to respect the position of the Planning Commission to review everything, take it under advisement, and then make recommendations to this body. This ordinance is being presented to you as amended at your direction. If you,
I mean, this was not, I would be honest, I don't think you're gonna be able to go through and say, hey, every one of these changes was something requested by council. There were changes that were probably stylistic, there were other changes, like about the height of the accessory dwelling unit. I mean, did council provide any instruction on changing, to the 60% for the accessory accessory buildings?
Well, council actually voted, you guys wanted to remove the accessory building, so therefore it's no longer in the UDO.
Okay, but the 60% for the accessory building.
It's not 60%, it's 17 feet.
Okay, 17 feet. Was 17 feet a council directive? Is that something that council has weighed in on?
I don't believe so.
No. So that's the issue, is that I would submit that what is before us is the UDO as it passed on first reading. Now, certainly we can amend it, but
what, you can, if you vote on it tonight, you're voting on it as amended by the Planning Commission as presented. Now, if you want to go through, and I have not seen it, but you have itemized out what each amendment is.
Every page.
Okay.
so you have not reviewed the ordinance in the entirety along with the attachments?
Not the UDO ordinance or the amendments, no.
Okay.
Just the form ordinance I drafted that. But tonight, when council takes a motion, they're going to be voting to approve the UDO ordinance as amended, as it's presented to you.
Was there
Yes,
any public notice on what we were voting on tonight, this amended document? To your knowledge, was this published anywhere, the as amended?
An agenda was posted 24 hours prior to
Okay.
Thursday
the
evening.
council meeting.
Which did not include this as amended?
I don't think the whole body of the UDO ordinance was,
So the public has not seen what we're voting on tonight?
not to my
What
knowledge.
you?
I mean,
what we
unless
intend to vote on
it was
tonight?
part of the Planning Commission meeting.
Is it not on the website?
It's on the website now, yeah.
Okay, it's on the website now as of,
As of when?
Thursday when you sent it, right?
As of, a few hours ago.
I was
as
gonna
of
say,
a
I
few
looked for it
hours ago.
yesterday, yeah.
So when I looked for it early this morning, it was not there, this document.
So my recommendation would be for this evening is because Corey's gone through the trouble of itemizing out each amendment between first and second, that the motion would be to include all amendments set forth in this itemized amendment that you've created. And so the record is clear as to what exactly the form that the ordinance is being adopted.
When did that itemized amendment go out?
This was delivered to you on Friday. Actually, I think it was delivered to you on potentially Thursday. I included it in the same email that was attached to the UDO document itself.
Okay.
So it's in that same email thread to every member here.
Daniel, so someone might make a motion to approve the UDO as amended, as reflected as the contents of this document?
Yes, that is my opinion. Yes, sir. That would be proper.
Which has not been publicly seen or displayed. I understand that we could make an amendment, we don't have to pre-clear amendments, but what we're saying essentially, we're almost assigning them a quasi-legislative function because it's saying that they are amending the UDO.
No, they're making recommendations to this body. You don't have to accept them. That's why we're here now, and that's why you can make motions before second final reading tonight.
The
I'm not
planning
telling you what
commission was open to the
You are the
public.
legislative body.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions for Corey or Daniel? Thank you. Okay. Up next, we have the second reading of ordinance 2025-12 to amend the fiscal year 25-26 operating budget to authorize the purchase of IT equipment for the police department. This is second reading. We discussed a good bit on the first reading. Do you guys have any questions? Chief and Jordan want to come up? I know you had something you wanted to add. Anybody have any questions? I guess we're good.
I
then.
guess we're,
I guess we're good. Okay. Next, we'll have the first reading.
he just left me, but that, I'm just joking.
We'll have the first reading of ordinance 2025-13 to amend the fiscal year 25-26 operating budget to accept the award of $332,300 from the South Carolina Opioid Recovery Fund and to authorize the hiring of 2 police officers and purchase 2 vehicles for the Easley Police Department with that award. Now, Chief.
So this is kind of what I was explaining. Hopefully I ought to have some really good news. This is it. If you back up, all this money comes from all the lawsuits with the pharmaceutical companies, overprescribing opioids, that kind of thing. So we had an opioid crisis. This is how we combat that. It's just like I said in the last meeting, law enforcement is always focused on trying to get the traffickers, the people that are selling the drugs, but we've never really focused back on, except for the 80s with the DARE programs, on the actual use thereof, which with any business, you supply and demand. Well, we got the supply, and we keep trying to cut off the supply, but we never really focus on demand. But that's what this program does. And this program with the opioid money for the city of Easley is actually we're one of the first cities that the police department is actually running this program in the state of South Carolina. So that, to me, is a good thing. I think we're trying to trailblaze forward, and we're trying to look forward. Some of our things that we're going to do with this money is obviously we're going to put disposable units for some of you don't want to flush them down the toilet, have pills. We're going to get with the local, maybe Walgreens, CVS, places like that. But you can take it, they can put it in this unit, and it's our job to come collect it and then give it to the DEA. The DEA burns it, they incinerate it. So that's just one step. But their main focus is going to be on pretty much 75% of their time, third grade, all the way up to 12th grade. They're focusing on our kids and our students. The ones that think it's okay to hit these vapes, The ones that it thinks it's okay to hit whatever you can buy in a convenience store. 2 weeks ago, we had a 12-year-old almost OD on something they bought from a convenience store. This stuff is deadly. It'll kill you. So that's why it's imperative we get in these schools. And I think it's amazing, and it's almost a gift from God, the fact that this is not money that we're having to take from our taxpayers locally. This is money that we're taking from pharmaceutical companies, and we're using it for opioid processes. So I think if to these two officers, I know both of them, they're both very vested into this program. In fact, Officer Blinky actually spent the entire summer with me and one of our other captains writing this entire grant. It took us all summer. I'm slow, so that was probably my fault. But long story short, the vision is this. The vision is we want to stop the drugs in this community. The vision is we want to cut off the demand for these drugs. And the best way to start is with our kids. And we're going to focus on that. We've got ideas from mobile command centers that do nothing but teach and show up, and they're interactive, and it's really nice and neat things that we've got some ideas for. We've already got our steps. We've already met. We also have another $130,000 that's coming that you guys are probably going to have to vote on in January, and that is for a civilian position. Not everybody wants to talk to a police officer when it comes to opioid abuse. So we have a civilian position that we want to open up, and that we have a civilian position that $130,000 will cover. There's also quite a bit of money that is from 2022 to now. In fact, there's $1.4 million sitting there that can only be spent on opioid and drug prevention, specifically opioid. But we're obviously going to talk about every single drug that's out there. So to me, this is amazing. To me, this is a program that is a no-brainer, and we got two officers that are eager to get into our schools. They both have been SROs. They've both seen people and had students. Josh Blinky, the one that wrote the program, has had students overdose. We've had people die, and I'm tired of seeing our kids die. And I'm tired of seeing people in the streets die. We will be passing out Narcan. We want to save lives, but we want to change the lives. We want to change the behavior. So that's what this program is for. I think it's a blessing in disguise. Well, it's not a disguise, it's out in front. But I really want to commend Josh Blinky, one of our Captain Green. They helped me with this, and it took us all summer long, but we've got it together. We've got it passed, and it's money we can spend specifically on opioids. And it'll help all, I apologize, yes, sir.
Will any of this money be recurring, Chief Lane?
Yes, sir. This will be recurring for probably 17 to 18 years. So right now, we're receiving about $436,000. This year, we'll be getting about $436,000. We have a $1.4 million bank from 2022. We have to keep spending the money from 2022 to 2023. That's where the 436 is coming from. If we don't, we lose it and it goes back to the state. It's got to be spent on this one program. So right now we're spending 2022 to 2023. Then we got to spend 2023 to 2024. But the blessing to the city and the money, and it's going to save the city hundreds of thousands of dollars if you get past what it's for and the kids and everything. We need an elevator at the police department. Well, we're going to be teaching a lot of kids, so guess what we have to have? An elevator, because our basement is now our training facility. This could pay for that elevator that the city would have to pay $300,000 plus for. So this grant is, I can't talk enough about it. I'm extremely excited. And to be honest with you, this is one of my passions. I've been in children's ministry forever. I love kids. And I'm tired of seeing them die. I'm just being flat out in front with you. And it's my job to protect them, and I feel like I fail them every time I go. So With
Thank you.
that, if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
If you've got the money, why not bring the civilian on now?
Because we can't, you have to apply for it. So he have initially applied for the 2 officers.
Okay,
And there's quarterly is when you can apply for the money.
okay,
So he went ahead and applied, when I say he, I'm talking about Corporal Blinky, he applied for the money for the $133,000 for the civilian, because you have to write it a certain way with this grant. I've learned that very quickly. But you have to write it a certain way, and then we're bringing the civilian on.
okay.
We're working with partners, we're working with Pickens County Behavioral Health, we're gonna be giving, it's not just us, we're actually gonna be throwing things out and resources and even finances out to other organizations that already do some of this. So it's a win-win for everyone. So we will be applying for the $130,000. We will try to go ahead and get that civilian on as quickly as possible, because not everybody wants to speak with an officer, but, we're trying, yes, sir.
Just to confirm, so these are 2 wholly new people.
Yes, so the people that are taking these 2 positions are not new. They've been with our department. We're putting them into these positions because they care deeply about this and they want to do that. But what that's happened is left 2 positions open over here. Does that make sense? So the 2 new positions for the city. And it's these 2 officers, you gotta understand, cannot go and enforce opioid. It's a taking in and helping people, so it's not an enforcement type situation.
So essentially, we're moving
Internal.
Internal, right,
to a newly created position.
correct.
We'll then hire 2 to replace them.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Is there any overall budgetary impact?
If I had to guess, if anything, it would actually increase. It depends on who we get in here too as well. So we have had a flood. It's another blessing. In the last year, we've had a flood of people. We've got a pile probably that thick of applicants to come and work at the Easley Police Department,
Right.
which is amazing.
What, I just want to say, having met or been in a meeting with the other municipalities on the opioid, I am very impressed kind of where we're at on the program of it. A lot of them had not applied, and so I think you guys have done a really good job of this.
Well, thank you so
Appreciate
much.
that.
We have sent out what we did, and we have sent out our application to multiple agencies. It's obviously up to them to apply for it, but
Very good.
anything
Awesome.
else?
Anybody else? Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Allen.
you so much.
This is a blessing.
Yes.
Okay, next up, we'll do a council vote on the approval of the ATAX Committee's recommendation for the disbursement of the accommodation tax percentages. And
Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, in your packet, it had $125,000 as the starting number of the estimate of what the ATAX would be. I put the wrong one in there. It should be $120,000 is what started, and that's what was in your box when you came in tonight. So it's $120,000, not $125,000. So I've changed those numbers on the slide that you see.
And that's, my understanding is that's an estimate.
Yes, ma'am. 120,000 is always an estimate, and then the 25,000 that we get is by law. We get 5% of the remainder. By law, 30% of the remainder goes to the chamber, and the remainder of that is divided by the ATAX committee. From all the applicants they got, they review those applications and decide how much each one gets. And so that's the number you see reflected. If our estimate is low and we get $130,000, then all those, they get the same percentage, but each one gets a little bit more. If it's less, if it's 110, then they get less.
But the percentages stay the same.
Percentages stay the same.
Any questions, discussion?
Are we voting in work session and
No,
general?
we're not voting, we're discussing
Oh,
work
okay.
session voting.
I have a question. I understand that there was a deadline to submit these applications, and apparently somebody submitted late and it was accepted. Is there not rules around that?
The ATAX committee decides what they're gonna accept and not accept, so.
Is there anybody here that can speak to that or knows anything about it?
Emily?
Emily, are you aware?
There's nothing that I've read that has restricted them to say strictly no if somebody turns in a late application. I was aware it was late. When I gave them the applications, they knew it was late. I just had to give it to them and they have to decide. We had a late one last year that they accepted as well. So it's completely up to the committee whether they accept the application and make a recommendation. But the ultimate decision
It's still theirs.
is council's. So this is just their recommendation on
Which
how to
was late.
disperse the funds.
Which was late
Do
application.
you want to share which one was late that's on the list?
I mean, it was the American
Beasley
Legion.
Foothills Playhouse?
It was American Legion that was late.
No.
Didn't cause any problems, though, did it?
It did not,
So,
no. No, I mean, it was, you could very well possibly be correct, I don't remember exactly. But whichever one was late, it was one that has applied before. The committee had no reservations about accepting the application.
So this is the committee's recommendation, and the council can vote no.
Mhm.
The other thing is, I'm assuming this is gonna be a verbal resolution. I think you're missing out on transparency. Doing this as a verbal, I think it should have been in writing.
Verbal. We got to vote.
Well, yeah, it's gonna be, it's a resolution.
Oh, well, I was told it didn't need to be a resolution. Is that not correct? Doesn't?
I don't believe we've done
Mr.
it that way in
Attorney?
the past.
Well,
I operate on legal
technically,
advice, sorry.
anything you adopt is either by ordinance or resolution. So when you adopt this state accommodation disbursement, you are adopting it by resolution, even though you don't have a
So
written
we can put on their
form of a
resolution.
resolution. You don't have to have a written form of a resolution, but
It's a verbal resolution?
I mean,
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah, but being verbal, you don't have a public record, just like a resolution would have.
well, you have,
It's
you've got this, right?
up here. It's on the agenda.
Any document that's created is a public record.
Well,
Emails, everything's public record. This is public record. It was in the packet. It's up here.
So in my view, you know, public has conceived this, and they would know what you're voting on. Council obviously knows what they're voting on, and they can make amendments by motion this evening if they want to adjust the percentages.
And it's being live streamed, so everybody can see this.
So just because we don't have a resolution form doesn't negate.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I just think it would be more formalized to be a written resolution instead of a verbal. It's just my opinion.
Understood.
Could, Daniel, could we just offer an amendment to say as memorialized in the attachment?
Sure.
Memorialized?
Yeah, if you want to make sure that this document that is before you this evening is the one that you are voting on, you could mark that as Exhibit A or Exhibit 1, and so we're all on the same page. Jennifer can print that out and mark it.
Okay, any other questions about the ATAX amounts? Discussion? Okay. Then we have up authorizing the reallocation of funds from 10/432/715/000 to purchase a used side loader sanitation truck. So Eddie, you guys want to talk about what this is?
going through and selecting a new truck, we ended up going to the city of Greenwood. And that's where we made our decision on our new truck. And the new truck will be purchased for less than what we initially had in the budget at $400,000. It is $356,038 for what we're needing.
Not
While we
Greenwood.
were at
Eddie.
Greenwood.
Eddie, we didn't get a new truck from Greenwood.
No, we looked at one of theirs.
Okay.
No, we didn't get a new truck yet. It's coming from,
You can't have a new truck, Eddie.
yeah, well, I need that one and this used one just to get us in the, up to date on the number of trucks. We're behind for what we're servicing. But anyway, we went and took a trip, and this would have been the, fleet manager and the assistant fleet manager. We went to, Greenwood, and we spoke with their former public works director, which is now a, department overseer with the accounting for their parts and stuff like that. And as you see up there, it's a 2014 Peterbilt. It's, their original purchase date for Greenwood was 9/17 of 2014. And the original price was $254,312.50, and they're still owned by the city of Greenwood. Current mileage on that truck is 64,000. The asking price is 40. Condition was inspected by Josh Potts and Brad Miller. Both of them are in here if you have any further questions. They went down and made another trip just to operate the truck. Truck started right up. They talked to the public works director, and he said that he would start it today, but they've got 3 spare trucks. They've got more spare trucks than what they need. So they said that they would sell it to us for what we had at the 40,000. That demonstrates the truck is operational and dependable. And then, of course, he also gave his word. This is a photo of that truck that is for sale from the city of Greenwood. And with the growing needs, the way that we're experiencing growth, and if we have a breakdown, you got to realize with one of our side loaders that we have to bring the truck in, and then we have to take people from a landscaping crew and take them off of a job that they've been on for a while, get that job covered, and you gotta put 2 people on the back of the truck. So we really have to put 2 sanitation techs. And one of the biggest things is with the increased development, and it'll also be a huge service for safety to get the guys off the back of the trucks. It's just really dangerous out there to have guys riding on the back of the garbage trucks the way people drive now, because they're not paying attention. And if they're not gonna pay attention to a truck that size, they're not gonna be very good to get police out there. But, recommendation would be to approve the purchase of the used one-arm side loader. That way we'd have a backup for any breakdown, and for the price difference. And with it being only 60,000, I told Tom earlier today that we've got a 2018 truck that has right at 70-something thousand miles on it. That's a rear tipper. So we've got 2 trucks. One was close to 90, and one was around 78,000 that we purchased in 17 and 18. So we're getting some wear and tear on the trucks that we actually have on the
And this is
yard.
money saved off of another.
This is money saved off the purchase of, or the order and the purchase of a new one.
So so the money, so we're not asking for any new money, not a budget amendment. This is money unspent from the $400,000 that we had estimated a new one would cost. He spent $356. It leaves whatever that is, 44,000. We have, so this one is for sale from Greenwood for
It was like 43 or
40,000.
something, yeah.
So,
2.
right. So it's, as Eddie said, it's needed. We're growing. The city's growing. If the UDO passes tonight, we're gonna have more growth coming, most likely. And And when he does have a breakdown on a side loader, and he tries to put a rear tipper back there, he does need more people to run the rear tipper. So we need a spare. One broke today, and he had to adjust his schedule just today. So we recommend that we go ahead and purchase this.
Any questions for Eddie or any discussion? Okay, thank you. And we have project updates?
Think there's any?
No project updates? Okay. That's motion to adjourn. Is there a second?